You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hey everybody, welcome back to They Live by Film. It's been a while since we've had an interview with the end of the year episode, and it's just been at least 2 months. So thank you all for being patient. I cannot believe I have an opportunity to sit down with Hong Kong film nerd, film historian, commentator beast, ninja warrior probably, all around expert in everything, Frank Djeng. I can't believe you're here. Thank you, Frank.
No, I'm not a ninja warrior. But thanks, Chris, for having me. No, it's a pleasure to be here. Yeah.
It's amazing. I was telling you this before we started recording. I hold you up on quite a pedestal, and I mean, it would be nice to meet Obama one day, but I think honestly, like it's really exciting for me to meet you, and we'll get into the reasons why. But I just even in the pre-talk, I can tell you're a very genuine human person, so it really
Oh,
means a lot
thank
to
you.
have you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, life is too short to be an AO. Let's put it this way.
You can say asshole, by the way. I don't know if
Asshole. Yeah, life is too short to be an asshole.
we are welcome cussing on the show, but if you don't want to do it for
Okay.
your own brand, that's
All
fine.
right. Fuck yeah.
That's right. We can. No censorship notes here on They Live by Film.
Well, as a librarian, I love that. Censorship. I mean, I'm a librarian, so yeah, censorship is the one that I hate the most, really. So
Wait, I'm gonna learn something about you early on. So you're by day you're a librarian?
no, by weekend I'm a librarian.
Okay.
By day, I actually work for the government. I'm in tech support for the
Okay.
Trade Department. So I
Okay.
handle anything that, like, you know, one of the agencies in the U.S. government is the Office of Trade, and so
Sure.
that's where I work under the kind of like they call it the client rep division, which is really tech support.
Okay.
So what it does is when importer or exporter has problem, either bringing stuff in or sending them stuff out, they come to us, and
Wow.
yeah, and we help them solve whatever problem. Some issue can get pretty complicated, especially with the new tariffs. And when we,
Sure.
I mean, during this time we're talking, we just have this new China tariffs coming in, so it's
Sure.
actually been quite busy. For the past few days, we've been really kind of busy because the importers are like, what do we do now? How do we file these entries? Do I have to pay these extra duties? So anytime there's some policy change like the tariff stuff,
Huh.
we get busy.
Interesting.
But yeah, we mostly do like technical. We help them with technical issues mainly. So
And obviously you speak Cantonese, and we're gonna get into that a lot.
and Mandarin.
And Mandarin. Are there any other languages that you speak?
I actually speak a little German. I'm actually 1/4 German. My grandmother was German.
You're a quarter German.
I'm a quarter German.
No way.
I'm Vierter Deutsch. Yes.
Have you spent much time in Germany?
I've never been to Germany.
You've
No,
never been.
never been.
Your grandmother would be so disappointed.
I know. Yeah, she's from Hamburg of all places too. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I've been to Munich only. I think that's right. I think I've only been to Munich. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it
I
was
always want to
really.
go to Berlin, to be honest, just to go to the Philharmonie, the concert hall there. Yeah.
And everybody talks about how much like a nice vacation it is there too. It's like a little bit less expensive, and there's like amazing stuff to see.
Yeah. Yeah. One day.
Well,
Einfach.
next time we record, we'll record in Berlin in a cafe.
There you go. Jawohl, my hair.
Okay, good. So obviously, I'm sure anybody that even sees your name in the title of this is going to have a million questions. There's a very specific reason why I am really drawn to your commentaries and writings and essays and everything. And I want to get into how you bring cultural context into things. So I'd like to spend a lot of time on that today. But before we get into that, can you just can you just kind of help us all understand a little bit how you became Frank Djeng that we knew? Like, have you always been crazy about movies? Like, just what's your background a little bit, Frank?
Well, yes, I've always been crazy on movies. As a
Yeah.
kid, I would go to movie theaters and see movies by myself,
Yeah.
sometimes with friends, sometimes with my dad, my mom. I have to thank my mom for it, my late mom, because I think when I was like either 3 or 4, she brought us to go see Gone with the Wind in the
Wow.
theater.
Okay.
And that's when I kind of really fell in love with movies.
Yeah.
Then later on, she would bring us to see like Sound of Music,
Uh-huh.
a lot of classic Hollywood films.
Mhm.
And then by the mid 70s, that's when the Hong Kong movies started gaining popularity. we'll go see the Hoy Brothers comedy, Private Eye, Security Unlimited, those classic Hoy Brothers comedies.
Yeah.
And as I got a little bit older, by older I mean like 9 or 10 years old,
Mm-hmm.
I would start going to see a movie by myself. I'll go see like James Bond movies,
Okay.
Rocky, that sort of movie, and also Hong Kong movie, but not Shaw because almost all Shaw movies are not suitable for children. The
I see.
only Shaw movies I was able to see was Super Inframan.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
that's the only like
Like
one of
kid
the
friendly.
handful of Shaw movies where kids can actually go in and see.
Okay. Okay.
Because I would go try to go see like Cripple Avengers,
Hmm.
and the guy at the box office said, "Nope, sorry, kid, can't go in. Not suitable for children." So anyway, so that's how I kind of gradually become to like movies. Then of course, I'll go see like Zoo Warriors,
Yeah.
like Jackie Chan, Spiritual Kung Fu, Young Master. So yeah, so that kind of continued after I came over to the U.S. I would go to Chinatown every weekend just to see movies, and
You
during
grew
the
up in Hong Kong.
yeah, I grew up in Hong Kong. Yeah, so I came over here when I was a teenager. And then I found out, of course, that, oh, there's actually I can actually see Hong Kong movies here in Chinatown, San Francisco Chinatown. And by then there were a couple of Oakland Chinatown movie theaters. They're gone. They're gone by then. Lux Theater, those are gone by then. But Chinatown, San Francisco still have like 4 Chinatown theaters going on. So I'll go there every weekend to see as many movies as I could, and that kind of lasted all the way through my college years. I didn't go here, but I went to UC Davis, and so even when I went to college, I would drive back out to the Bay Area on weekends and go see movies.
Right.
Yeah, so that kind of continued all the way through like my mid 20s until the Chinatown movie theater started kind of dwindling down and stuff. And then I got a job working in the library, so that explained the librarian thing. So I worked in the library, and then full time. I wasn't a librarian back then. I was working as a library assistant, and then a friend of mine works at Tai Seng,
Okay.
the U.S. distributor of all these Hong Kong movies and TVB programs. And she was complaining how they were trying to start a department that catered to English speaking fans of Hong Kong movies, but they're having a hard time finding the right candidate. And so she knew that I like Hong Kong movies, so she asked, "Hey,
Uh-huh.
would be interested in applying for it?" At first, I wasn't interested because
Okay.
the salary was lower, you
Okay.
know, and I, but then I thought, okay, well, that's my passion. Maybe it will be a good thing for me to do. So I applied for it, and I got the job, and I ended up staying at Tai Seng for 12 years.
Wow.
So basically, I was in charge with promoting Hong Kong movies to English speaking audiences. We do the subtitles, um, added English text to the design and all that.
Okay.
Basically, it's catered to English speaking audiences,
Yeah.
make them English friendly,
Hmm.
And that's also how I started my Comic Con thing. We started doing panels at Comic Con at that time,
Oh.
San Diego Comic Con. And at the end of I worked there for 12 years. I worked at Tai Seng for 12 years. And near the end of my career there, I started doing a few commentaries, audio commentaries, because by then Criterion started doing commentaries.
Okay.
And we also did, I also did some commentary, like I also recorded commentaries with artists like Cynthia Rothrock, Writing Wrong, the Tai Seng relates to this. Writing Wrong has the Rothrock commentary, the Bright White Hair, Ronnie Yu commentary, Peter Powell commentary. And so near the end of my years working there, I did several commentaries for a few of the titles there.
Hmm.
Then I left Tai Seng. I had a kind of like a career change, mainly to be closer to my parents, who's not, her health was in decline.
Okay.
And then I worked, then I got a job at, the U.S. government, working for the Office of Trade, for like doing tech support stuff. And then about 6 years ago, I think 6 or 7 years ago, Severin Films started approaching me
Okay.
and said they are doing these Blu-ray. They're doing 2 Blu-rays of these kung fu film trailers, just a collection of kung fu film trailers from
Hmm.
Hong Kong. And they, Severin being a big supporter of commentaries, asked if I'm interested in doing audio commentary with people like Michael Werth and Rick Myers, and I said sure. And so I did those, and then afterwards, David, the owner of Severin, who's also a documentary filmmaker, approached me and said, I'm doing this exploitation documentary. I needed your help. We'd be interested in helping us get this going. I said yes. So that's really how the documentary you know, Into the Clones of Bruce kind of started. You know, they wanted to do this documentary, but they need someone who can find these people in Hong Kong and interview them. So that's how
Okay.
I got involved in that. And then about a year after that, so like around 2017 or 2018, Eureka, the UK label, the boutique label, they were releasing these two John Woo titles, The Last Hurrah for Chivalry and Hand
Of
of
course.
Death.
Yes.
And they wanted to reprint the liner notes I wrote for Tai Seng's Last Hurrah for Chivalry Laserdisc. And they were looking all over for me. Obviously, they needed permission. So they were looking all over for me. They couldn't find me. And I thought, was that really that hard to find? But anyway, so they knew David. They knew David from
Mm,
Severn, and
mm,
they reached out to David. I guess they were just asking everybody. So they asked David,
mhm,
you know,
mhm.
and they said, well, I know Frank. And so we were able to get into contact. I said, sure, you know, reprint my liner notes. That's great, you know. And then they said, we'll be interested in doing some audio commentaries. You know, we're going to be releasing quite a bit of Hong Kong films. And at first, I actually kind of like, ooh, I don't know. I'll try one, see how
Uh-huh.
that goes.
Uh-huh.
So I did Iron Fist the Monk, you know, because
Yeah.
they're doing that Samuel Home box set.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'll do Iron Fist the Monk, see how that goes. Recorded, I hated it. I mean, you know, I always re-listen to my commentary before I send them to before sending them to the distributor. I thought I hated it because I was repeating a lot of words. I was like and ah all the time, and
Okay.
you know, so and I thought I did a terrible job. But then they came back and said, actually, it was actually quite good. I mean, you know, for them, it was actually quite good. And I
Okay.
said, oh, okay, well, and then they asked, would you like to do more? I said, sure. That's how it kind of got started.
Wow.
And then you know, it led to Eastern Condors, which is actually my favorite Samuel Home movies. And then you know, then I started doing other Eureka titles, and then other labels started kind of knocking on my door, so to speak. 88 Films, then Arrow, then Criterion, Radiant, Vinegar Syndrome. So yeah, that's how it kind of got started.
Amazing. Yeah, and even now shout in a big way, right?
Oh, Xiao,
Um,
yeah, Xiao. Well, more Xiao in terms, not in terms of commentary, but more like producing content, like
okay.
interviews. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Because they have a very public partnership with you recently. Um, but
yeah. We try to hide that for like. We originally they're gonna announce it on Chinese New Year, which was like last Wednesday,
oh
but
yeah.
then Variety leaked it, so it was like, oh, the cat's out of the bag. Might as well admit it. So yeah.
That's amazing though. So that the story is makes sense. And you tell it in a very matter-of-fact way, which makes sense because you're kind of just recapping your life. But, you know, if anybody, I don't know how this would be possible, but if anybody hasn't heard a commentary of yours by now, I would say to me it's as interesting as watching the movie that it's on. And I know there's and specifically the reason why is you know, they talk about this in like anytime you're translating an ancient text, like if you're translating a language that's dead or you're translating a language that's not really spoken anymore, if you have somebody who can provide extra context around that language, it brings that old text to life, right? And
That's
I
a
think,
great no, you know, that's a great comment. And I just want to quickly point out, you know, you've heard of the Creation of the Gods film, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so the Creation of Gods film, they actually spoke in very ancient Chinese language because you know
okay,
the film was based in the Shang Dynasty. So that's like that is the reason alone. That is the worth, you know, that's worth you going to see this movie in the theater because there are hardly any movies set in the Shang Dynasty, you know.
oh
But
yeah,
the thing is, they were all speaking in ancient Chinese. But
wow,
of course, the subtitling, the translation were in modern English.
right,
And so I mean, that's why, yeah, I mean, like if you don't speak that language, if you don't speak Chinese, you really, you know, you're losing at least half of what's being conveyed in a more poetic way, so to speak. I mean, it could have been translated in a much more poetic way, much more, you know, authentic way, so to speak, using
yes,
you know, more articulate languages. But
but
that's, yeah,
some
so context to me is always very important.
but sometimes it's not enough to have subtitling, right? Like even they talk about, and I want to go right back to Hong Kong films, but they talk about Don Quixote, that book, right? If you don't speak Spanish, you lose like half the book
Of
because so
course.
much of it is wordplay and pun, and it's so much better and more rich if you actually understand the native tongue, right?
Yes.
And that's how I always feel watching one of your movies is I feel like by the time a commentary is done with you, I feel like not only do I understand the movie, maybe the themes and maybe what the characters are trying to say. But I understand like every detail about what was going on and the interplay between the characters. And it like some movies, it just they completely come to life. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you say that. Yeah, I mean that's the main thing I want to convey in my commentary, as a native speaker, because I want to bring in information that non-Chinese, people who doesn't understand Chinese wouldn't have gotten it because, for one thing, like I will bring in stuff that I saw in articles in Chinese, like
Right.
newspapers, magazines, or interviews, that were not translated in English. So there's stuff there that you wouldn't have known unless you read it in Chinese. So I'll try to bring those in, but also the cultural context is very important. And most of these films are from the time that I grew up in Hong Kong, 70s and
Right.
80s. And so there's quite a lot of pop references, cultural references, anything from, ever like commercial catchphrases
Right.
to the kind of slang that they use. I'll give you a recent example. I did a Witch from Nepal commentary for 88 Films. And one common phrase that are often seen in like Hong Kong TV shows and movie at that time was whenever they show the characters buying stuff at the store, they always say "bao hei kai." "Bao hei kai" means wrap it up. The
Okay.
reason they said wrap it up was because back then stores don't give out plastic bags or shopping bags. They wrap whatever you want to buy. And so,
Oh,
and that phrase actually went all the way back to like the 50s, the early 50s, when you have these old, like these really, like brand name traditional Hong Kong department store like Sincere, Wing On,
okay.
Dragon Plaza. So those are like old school department stores. And when you go buy stuff at those stores, they wrap them up. They
Ah,
wrap them up, and I mean, doesn't matter whether it's for a gift or whatever. They wrap them up because that's the only way they have to give you your stuff.
yeah.
Not bags. But that phrase, wrap it up, bao, bao somehow it is so permeating in our mindset that even up to the 80s when in which from Nepal, when by then department stores are already putting them in plastic bags,
Sure.
they're still using that phrase.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's something I want to let people know. Like why is he say why did Chow Fat say wrap it up? Like he's not, it's for himself. It's not a gift. So
Yeah,
why
yeah.
did he say wrap it up?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I just always find these are interesting stuff, but like it's worth explaining. So that's why I always try to have these little information included.
It's amazing though, Frank. How much when you're going through preparing for a commentary like Witcher Nepal or any of these, how much is known to you ahead of time and how much is research for you kind of preparing for the film?
I would
Like
say half and half.
half and half?
Well, for one thing, I've seen these films, so I know the film, most of them. Um, the research is really meant to get more information to fill the space
Mm.
because I hate gaps, as you
Hmm.
can probably know by now.
Uh-huh.
And I hate having like long gaps in commentary. I try to talk through the whole commentary, and also I never edit them. By the way, I always do them in one take.
Wow.
If I'm not satisfied, I just redo the whole take. So there
Wow.
are films where I've done like 9 takes, six,
Oh
seven, 8
my
takes. Yeah,
gosh.
yeah. I mean, I don't like editing. It's just not natural.
It
And
takes too
yeah,
long.
and I also like how I mean, to me that's a little bit more spontaneous, and I kind of
Yeah.
like that. Um, so anyway, but going back to the research part, yeah. So I have it, but mainly to get accurate information,
Mm.
to make sure that okay, this is right, this is correct. Like again, to cite, which from Nepal, there's a shot where Chow Yun-fat was standing in front of the old Hong Kong Hilton Hotel.
Okay.
And so when I saw that, I said, okay, I got to talk about a Hong Kong Hilton Hotel because that again is a significant part of Hong Kong history
Yes,
because
for
it was
sure.
the Hong Kong Hilton that started the trend of having mini bar in hotels. Hong Kong Hilton was the first hotel in the world to start having mini bars. So
Really?
again, yeah, so because it was so successful, Hilton decided to have mini bars in all of the hotels, and the other hotels started copying them. So,
Oh,
but anyway, so these are the kind of things I want to make sure I bring it out, and also I want to make sure these are accurate. So, so yeah, so these additional tidbits. So I always try to find additional information related to like I knew Hong Kong Hilton was like a landmark hotel in Hong Kong, but is there any other thing that I should talk about? So that's where the research comes in. You know,
I was telling you I grew up in Southeast Asia, and you always hear about this cocktail called the Singapore Sling, And it's interesting. Have you been to the bar where it's from, like the hotel where it's
No,
from?
I never. No, I haven't been to Singapore. No.
Anyways,
Malaysia is the only Southeast Asian country I've been to. Well,
oh,
Thailand and Malaysia. Yeah.
okay, okay. Well, anyways, it's from a place, you know, there's like an actual place that's made this drink. And it's
Hmm.
interesting when you go now, it's like a tourist stop, you know, it's not, but it's kind of cool to sit there and just sort of be like, oh, this is the place where the Singapore sling is from. I don't know. It's like different, you know, it's the difference between hearing about something and experiencing it, right? And it's
Yeah.
not, I can never be a child in 80s Hong Kong. Like I can't have that experience. But it's nice when I get to watch these movies through your eyes because I feel like it kind of puts me in that place a little bit, you know, like in the same way.
Yeah, no, that's what I want to convey. Like in Untold Story, I'll mention, okay, that restaurant where Anthony Wong work is actually on like on Waterloo Road, and the restaurant's
Yeah.
gone now, but that's where it is. So if you go to Hong Kong, if Google Map, you can go and check out that place. So yeah, no, to me, location is also very important, and that's why I always I always kind of point out when there's geographic discrepancies in movies.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I forgot which movie, but like there was one movie where the character was driving this way, and so he's driving this way, but then in the film it's showing he's driving that way, which is geographically not correct. Because based on the direction he's driving, he should be going to here, but no,
Yeah,
he's going here.
right.
So I like to point out things like that. The good thing about it though is like Johnny To is always very accurate in showing the geographic
Oh,
location.
he's good about that.
Yeah, he's good about that. So although even in Sparrow, there are scenes where it actually shot somewhere else. Like Sparrow supposedly took place in like Hong Kong Island, but the
Mm-hmm.
climactic scene, the umbrella, the scene with the umbrella, the duo
Mm-hmm.
the umbrella duo, is actually shot near his office building in Guntong, which is in Kowloon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so a little bit different. But then it's night and you can't really see. But when people are driving, it's like no, he's not driving that way. Why are you showing it like this? But then yeah, that's how I am. I'm just trying to point out these things to really kind of I guess my purpose is to introduce a bit more of Hong Kong to people who've never been there.
How does it work if you're watching, let's say, a 70s Italian movie and, you know, you're watching it with subtitles or whatever, right? Do you get curious and try to Google the context in the same way and try to figure out what's going on? Or can you just kind of sit and enjoy the movie
I
without?
just enjoy the movie, to be
Okay.
honest with you. Well,
Okay.
for one thing, I haven't been to Italy. Now, a British movie will be totally different because I've been to UK many times. So
Okay. Okay.
if it's a British movie, I might try to point out or try to look for things.
You
But
might
it's
be.
always nice to recognize landmarks, British, UK landmarks in British films.
Mm. That's interesting though. So it's nice that you can turn it off and just kind of enjoy movies if you're not having to be in the like academic mode, I guess, if you want to say it that way.
Yeah, but although I think is because of the fact that I've seen so many movies.
Hmm.
Sometimes when I watch a movie, I kind of hard for me to get involved because I'm just looking at the technical side of things.
Okay. 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 Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So
What do you watch to relax, Frank? If you're just like, because you watch a lot of films even now, like you still continue to watch a lot of movies, right?
I do watch a lot of movies, but I can't. I mean, when I relax, I just watch YouTube.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I watch TV to relax. I mean, yeah, film is hard for me to relax. Like I can't just have a film play in the background. Whenever a
Mm.
film is on, I just tend to kind of watch it.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Is there a particular genre you watch if you're wanting to, I guess relax is the wrong word based on what you just said, but is there a particular genre you're drawn to for kind of like a comfort food?
I would say sci-fi,
Oh
sci-fi
yeah,
and action. Really, yeah, yeah. I'm a
Asia.
big sci-fi fan, so yeah.
Asia has some, Southeast Asia especially, but even Hong Kong has some amazing science fiction movies. Uh,
A few. You can
Very
count them by the
imaginative
fingers, so
and
to
crazy.
speak. One of my favorites is actually The Legend of Wisely.
Mm.
I remember seeing it in Chinatown, and I was like amazed by it. I thought, wow, finally we have a sci-fi movie from Hong Kong.
There's been a lot of from Poland recently too, and kind of Eastern Europe as well. There's been a lot of.
Mhm.
Have you seen some of these that are coming out from like Radiance put out that set or?
I don't know which sci-fi film Radiance had put out though. I'll have to look it up. I mean, I
Ah,
am a big fan of Radiance. I mean, I've done two commentaries with them.
yeah,
I
yeah.
buy their stuff regularly, but mostly Japanese stuff. So.
There,
I gotta check out.
it's the Shulkin, Peter Shulkin said, if you're interested, it's um, he's kind of a lesser known director, but this, or at least for me, he was. But these movies are all extremely imaginative and like really bright colors and just it's really well done. They're interesting. Um, but anyways,
Very cool.
so yeah, so I guess going back to this thing though, because this is what I'm so interested in. I guess to begin with, I didn't mean to take a detour. Um, What is it that, why do you think that the context is so important to you? Because we've talked about the mechanics of how you do it, but like, was that a realization for you or was it always natural? Like, how did you get there?
It's always natural. I always felt that, well, in I'm a librarian, so to me, everything should be archived and
Yeah.
everything should be documented.
Mm,
And to me, these movies, in addition to being entertainment, it's also a time capsule. You're
yes.
looking at a specific period in time when these films were made, and it's really, the filmmakers might not notice it at that time, but it's really a historical document of Hong Kong at that particular period of
Yeah,
time.
sure.
Not just history, but also like cultural references, how it looked, how the city looked, how the cars look, how the signs look, what kind of advertisement, commercial on TV, that sort of thing. And so to me, that's very important. Again, as a librarian, to me, history is very important. And so these are time capsule, and I really kind of want to bring that into focus to let people
Mm.
know. Back then, that's what like that's what the commercials are like. Back then, that's the kind of phrases they were using.
Yeah.
That's how they talk back then. That's how they dress or whatever. So to me, it's a part of the cultural element that I, you know, find to have historical significance, and I really kind of want to highlight it to let people know. Because again, you have to. I mean, most of these films, again, they were made back in colonial time when
Right.
Hong Kong was still under British rule. And now that Hong Kong has been handed over to China in '97, so it's been what 28, almost, well, it will be 28 years uh, this summer. A lot has changed in the past 28 years. Many things have disappeared. Neon signs, definitely one, you know, big example. They've been taking down these neon signs because all of the old restaurants, like the diner in PTU is long gone. The diner in there's another diner using like Stephen Chow movie that's gone. Goodbye. There's also using Goodbye Mr. Cool, that's gone. And so these are, to me, these are historical. These are important stuff that we really should kind of point out so that people won't forget.
I really like that. Yeah, I was living in Indonesia in the time of the changeover. And it was interesting to see. It was quite peaceful, actually. I mean, there was a little bit of protesting, I guess, but the way that it happened, it was kind of like a 30-year plan, right? So, or 30 or,
No, it's more like a 13 year because they signed the agreement in 84. So can kind of start, they signed the
yes.
agreement to hand over in 84. So they kind of started planning by then.
It was then, and then 97 is when it sort of happened, right?
Hmm.
But then even after it happened, there was like a plan to kind of pull out over the next 30 years or 50 years or something like that. There's different stages, I think, right? Like it wasn't all completely all at once. So I think it was designed in a way to be sort of transitionary and more peaceful by design, up until obviously recently in the last, maybe
Hmm.
5 or 6
Yeah,
years,
I
maybe
guess
10 years.
2019. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't know. Isn't that transition? I think a lot of people. I would have never like. There's no history course in U.S. schools teaching about that, right? I mean, there's like but it's such a major. Like, I don't know if people understand what a major economy Hong Kong is and sort of how important that is that it's changing power and everything. So, anyways, it's cool that you're bringing that context in.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend, the book Hong Kong Diaries written by Chris Patton.
Okay.
Chris Patton was the last governor of Hong Kong, last British
Hmm.
governor of Hong Kong. And so he kept his diaries. He wrote. He writes diaries. So he kept the diaries of his you know, entire stint as the last Hong Kong governor. And that book just, he just had. I mean, the book just kind of encompassed what has happened in Hong Kong
Oh,
and
that's amazing.
what led to the handover and what happening now. And so, yeah, no, I highly recommend that book. I mean, people want to know more about Hong Kong history, they really should read Chris Patton's book, Hong Kong Diaries.
Okay, thank you. If people want to get to know you a little bit, is there a commentary or two that you have personal affinity for? Just kind of, I mean, forget about better or worse. I always point people to the Armor of God commentary. I think I
Oh
love
gosh, that one. Oh,
it.
that was a pain to do.
Really?
There's so much information, and
That's
I
the
actually
thing,
have
yeah.
to. I actually had to record it like I had to record in 6 segments because it's like, oh my god, see the problem. Sometimes the problem with doing commentary is I always over research,
Okay.
so my notes are always much longer. Like the stuff that I included in my notes are always there's always too many stuff, too much
Okay.
too much information
Okay.
to include in the film over the duration of the film.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean by doing multiple takes. Sometimes when let's say I do take one and say, oh gosh, I didn't cover this, or I should have, or I missed this or that. So sometimes after the first take, I actually go back and edit my notes and then redo it. And sometimes that process can take many times. In the case of Armor of God, I have like 40 pages of notes. And obviously I couldn't fit everything into the commentary. And so I
Yeah.
ended up doing multiple takes, especially the last, especially the part once I talk about his injury, Jackie's
Yeah.
injury.
Uh-huh.
Because there's only so much time for me to talk about his injury, right?
Okay.
So I have to really kind of do it in a way that I can include everything I want to include within that time frame.
Right,
So,
right.
so it's just back and forth. It's kind of self-editing that takes a lot of time. So yeah,
Mm.
Armor God is one of the toughest commentaries I've done. I can say that. But in terms of my favorite, I guess definitely Eastern Condors because that's
Mm.
my favorite Sammo Hung film.
Mhm.
A Duel to the Death
Oh,
because
I haven't
I
heard that one.
recorded
Okay.
that 9 times.
Uh-huh. Wow, that was the nine
Nine
times
times,
one.
9 times.
Okay.
Millionaire's Express because I thought that was I thought that was kind of perfect because I really had everything that I want to talk about included in the
Mm.
commentary. Again, that took like 6 times, I think. Yeah. Oh gosh, what else? There's just so many. I
No, it's
mean,
okay. No, that's a great start. I mean,
yeah.
what about the,
Throw down. Yeah, Throw down is probably one of my favorite commentary.
uh,
The Giant Hope film.
I was hoping you'd mention one of the Johnny. Yeah.
Recent one, maybe definitely Running on Karma.
Mm.
The two there's actually two commentaries on Eureka's Running on Karma. One I did with FJ, who's
Yeah.
great. You know, the other one was self commentary. Because again, when you do a commentary with a partner, there's good and bad about it. Good is I don't have to talk that much, right? Because you have a partner that you can kind of rely on
Right.
to talk a little bit more. But the problem is then again, because I over research, when you have a partner, sometimes we tend to glide over things that I want to mention, but I couldn't because you
Yeah.
have someone else talking. And so in some cases, I would say, well, can I do a solo commentary just to, cover the one that we didn't cover?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And sometimes they say, sure. Well, most of the time they say, sure.
It's
Because
like
I
gnawing at you. You're like, there's so
yeah,
much
yeah,
more
yeah,
to
yeah.
say.
Yeah. So like in the case of Run on Karma, I was able to do a solo commentary to, that's not an easy film to understand, by the way, because of the all these Buddhist philosophy,
Mm, mm, mm.
and the film. The thing about that film is you get to appreciate more as you grow older. Because I actually did a commentary for that film with Rick Myers for Tai Sing
Okay.
back in the early 2000s, and well, FJ was in it too, I think, and we completely misinterpreted the last part.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, I felt that we completely misinterpreted. And so I kind of disowned that commentary. And when Eureka said they're going to do Running on Karma, I said, well, please don't include a Tyson commentary. Because normally if they release a film that used to have a Tyson commentary, I said, go ahead, put it in, feel free
Mm,
to put it
mm,
in. But for that film, I said, don't, I disown that commentary. We'll redo it. And so I ended up doing two, one with FJ, one by myself. And
mm.
I think that's actually one of my recent favorites commentary. And any commentary I did with FJ and Michael Worth, those are all great. Michael knows his shit. Michael and I we strike a good balance. He talks more about the technical side of
Yeah.
cinematography, the fights, and I talk about the more the historical side, the trivia a bit.
Mm,
So
mm.
it's almost like perfect. And I love doing commentary with Michael. FJ, I mean, come on, it's FJ. I mean, FJ, because he's a Hollywood producer.
Mhm.
He's really an industry professional. He's from the industry.
Mhm.
So I like the fact that he had a lot of industry. He gives a lot of industry insight into the
Yeah.
commentary, particularly since he one of his major job as a producer is to review scripts. And
Mm,
so he has a very, very analytical, knowledge of what's what's a good screenplay, what's a good characterization.
yeah,
And so I like those insights he brings into the commentary that we do. So yeah, but if you want me to name more favorites, I mean, I guess PTU would be another favorite.
it's a cool movie.
That's a cool movie. I wish I can. I mean, PTU was actually kind of rushed. I wish I had more time to do that one. But
Well, I mean, recently you've been involved in some big projects, right? And so, like, I was wondering how it was working on, for example, like some of the Enter the Clones stuff, because you've been touring around with that for a bit, right?
yeah, Into the Clones was really kind of a surprise because
Okay.
we started it back in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
and the idea was to interview all the four of the major clones actors:
Uh-huh.
Bruce Lee, Bruce Lee, Bruce Lee, and Dragon Lee. So we got 3 out of 4 initially, but Bruce Lee kept saying now's not the time. He never said no to the interview. He kept saying now's not the time, not yet. Come back to me later. And David, the director, being this stubborn old Brit, said no, I gotta have him. We'll wait. And we never expected to wait 6 years for him,
Okay.
because we kept asking him every few months. I said,
Mm.
"Is now the time?" I said, "No, now's not the time." Never
Oh,
explained why. He just said, "Now's not the time." Never said no either. And then COVID came, so that kind of puts things in a stop. Then after COVID subsided, we asked him again. We asked him again. Again, he said, "Not yet, not yet." And finally, when Tribeca Film Festival selected our film for the world premiere, is now or never. So we basically told him, look, we have to lock the film now. We waited for your ass for 6 years. You know, it's like we've been patient enough, right? I mean, we've been
okay.
insistent enough, and
Okay.
so we've been persistent in all this, and we,
Uh-huh.
we we were willing to wait, but now we really can't wait any longer. And so he finally said yes. So
Wow.
like 2 weeks before we have to lock the film, we flew to Hong Kong, interviewed him, translated it, edited it, subtitled it, put it in the film. So that's how it started. And to our surprise, Bruce Lee became the most enthusiastic supporter of our film. And so that's why we brought him to US last year on that tour when we showed the film at Alamo. Um, but yeah, so we're still kind of involved in it because Michael and I went to Taiwan, Korea, and Hong Kong last summer to kind of did a follow up on the documentary, which we're actually editing right now. So
Oh,
there will
that's
be a
cool.
sequel. So yeah, imagine a sequel to a documentary. So
That's awesome.
kind of like the 7 Ups, 14 Ups.
That's right.
You know,
That's right. That's right.
yeah.
I'm so
So
glad
so
you referenced I
yeah,
love that series. It needs a new release.
I know. So but that's what we did. We went back to 3 of the clones. Bruce Young was he turned it down because he was too busy with his business in China. So
Okay.
and it was difficult for us to go to China anyway. So
Sure.
but Taiwan, South Korea, we can do that. So yeah, so we basically did a follow up on 3 of the clones. So, and that's what we're working on right now. And
That's awesome.
yeah, and hopefully we'll bring that to film festival, and then we'll include it on volume 2 of the box set. The exploitation film box set.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, I guess speaking of sequels to box sets and multiple box sets in it, you've also been very involved in these Golden Harvest projects recently, right?
Golden Harvest for Arrow maybe. I did the Bruce Lee, the Bruce Lee box set, the Bruce Lee at Golden Harvest box set. For
Well,
Arrow, I did commentaries and I did 2 mini documentaries. I mean, I was involved in 2 of the mini documentaries on that box set.
yeah. No,
Oh,
there
you
was
mean the Golden Princess? You mean the Cinema City titles?
no, there was some news story that broke that there's some Golden Harvest boxes.
Oh, the shout stuff.
Yes, yes,
That
yes,
what
yes.
they just call it the Golden Harvest stuff. That's all. I mean, it's well, what happened was they did 2 Golden Harvest box set,
Yes.
right? One is on the erotic films, which I wasn't involved with. The other
Okay.
one was the one that I was heavily involved with. The volume 2, they call it the Rising Stars, but it's really a compilation of films by with Jet Li,
Okay.
like the Legacy of Rage, it's like Jimmy Wang Yi. I mean, the thing that tied them together is kind of like they're all from Golden Harvest, even though Legacy of Rage was from DMB films. But yeah, so that was the main project because I did 7 commentaries on that box set.
That's
It's
crazy.
like 7 out of 8. Yeah.
But when is that coming out? That's coming out this
That
year.
came out already. The Golden Harvest Box came out in November, I think.
The Shining Stars came out. That's right. That's right. At the
Right,
end of
right, right. The Shining Star, yeah, not Rising Star.
No, no, it's
They've all
okay.
risen already. So yeah, yeah, Shining Stars. Yeah, they just call it that, but yeah, and so yeah, that was the Golden Harvest box set. So
Was that see, this is the interesting thing though, is because when most people think of Hong Kong films, they kind of just think of Shaw Brothers, but that's a nice way to introduce Golden Harvest, which in a way has more popular films even internationally, right? I mean, some of the ones from Golden Harvest are massive internationally.
yeah, and that's one reason why we watch our documentary and the Songs of Bruce. You notice the first 10 minutes was not about Bruce exploitation at all. It's about
Mm,
the history of Hong Kong cinema,
yeah.
about Shaw Brothers, about Golden Harvest, and because we felt that it was important to let people know that a lot of people go in and just think Bruce Lee,
Hmm.
right? I bet you a lot of people don't know that these are Golden Harvest films. They only know
Exactly.
Bruce Lee films. I want to let them know this is how it all started. Shaw Brothers, Oriental Hollywood. Then you have one of the producers from Shaw, Raymond Chow, kind of defected and left, started his own company, Golden Harvest, and then Bruce Lee tried to, you know, Bruce Lee was pissed about Kung Fu, the TV series, them taking the idea. So he said, you know what, I'll go to Hong Kong. If you want to go to Golden, he want to go to Shaw. Shaw said no. Who do you think you are? And so that's why he went to Golden Harvest, and that's how, the
Can
rest
you
is history.
imagine that now and the way that history's worked out?
Yeah. So I want to let people know about these studios because these are important. It's just like that they were the Hong Kong equivalent of MGM, Fox, Paramount. So it's almost like a little education, like Hong Kong Cinema 101 for people who don't know. But yeah, a lot of people don't realize. I mean, like if you go, I mean, many back though. I know we're gonna get to the Golden Princess stuff, but before you always have people, if you go to internet, you go to forums, you always have these people talking about, oh, I wish they released Killer and Hard Boil, or like even like Pantyhose Hero.
Sure,
They have no
exactly.
idea, like they kept saying, asking these label, can you release Pantyhose Hero? Can you release Rumble in the Bronx, that sort of thing? Because they don't know that these films actually was, had bought by American studios, right? Warner Brothers bought a whole bunch of them. And then in the case of the Killer and the Hard Boil, Cinema City / Golden Princess, they have this, because they're really a real estate company, so they're not interested in selling these films piecemeal. So
Uh-huh.
whoever that want to buy these films has to buy the entire library and also buy the worldwide rights. So that's why many of these classic like John Woo films, mostly made for Cinema City, hasn't been released in the US
Mm.
or really outside of Asia because of the fact that they're part of this Golden Princess Cinema City library. So so yeah, we knew that a lot of people don't know or they don't care. They just don't know the backstory of these films.
Right.
All they know is how come this film is not available?
Right, right, right,
Why
right.
can't you release this film?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one reason why. Remember, I don't know whether you knew. I did a video with Fanatical Dragon, which is an internet
Yeah.
um, KOL guy. So
Hmm.
we actually did the video explaining why films like Killer and Harbor are not available. So, but then of course that video is kind of kind of outdated now. Yeah,
Uh,
so people don't know the studio background, and like we try to educate them,
mm.
so that it's really my way of trying to stop them from keep asking the same question. To be honest.
I'll make sure to link that in case people have questions. They can just go watch that video, even though now some of these movies are coming out anyways. But um,
Yeah, it's kind of moot now, that video, but still, it's fun. It was fun doing that video with
no,
Fanatical
but
Dragon.
that story is people talk about Lady Terminator, people talk about whatever, all these old movies, and a lot of it is rights issues. A lot of it
Yeah,
is just because somebody has the film and they won't release it.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
Miramax was known for that.
yeah.
I'll tell a story. Before Tai Seng used to own Wing Chun, Michelle Yeoh,
Okay.
and when and like other movies too, and Miramax came and bought a few of these films.
Okay.
And when they talked, when they bought these films, their lawyers specifically told us Miramax is buying these films so you cannot release them.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're not releasing them. I mean, it took them years to release like Wing Chun, but that was their plan. They want to dominate because they were doing Jackie Chan movie, Super
Sure.
Cop, all that stuff. And so there's like they want to dominate that that particular genre. And so
Interesting.
to us, they're a threat. Taiseng was a threat, and so they're willing to spend money buying these films and not
Just
releasing
hold
them.
them basically.
Just hold them so that we cannot release them. Yeah.
That's too bad. But since we have broached the topic, I guess I do have to ask a little bit. What is your involvement in the Golden Princess thing? Like, are you on the phone with people trying to negotiate? Like, are you kind of in the background just giving them advice? Like, what's your involvement in it?
No, I don't do any acquisition for the labels.
Okay,
I am not involved in any of that.
okay,
Any of the no, not at all. Although I will help them read, like I will help them get in touch with the like the studio. Let's say
okay,
if a UK label say, hey, I want to buy the Yunwo Ping film. I say, okay, well you can talk to Yunwo, like you talk to this person who's the assistant
mm,
to Yunwo Ping. He's in charge of acquisition. So that sort of thing. But my involvement with acquisition ends there.
okay,
I don't help them negotiate unless they specifically say, "Hey, Frank, can you help us do this? Can you help us
okay.
end this deal?" I mean, close this deal. So,
Mm-hmm.
but my involvement was Shout. I started doing commentary and interview. Shooting interview for Shout.
Mm-hmm.
I guess a year ago, and then in November they told me that you know keep it to yourself, but we bought the entire Golden Princess Cinema City
It's
library,
crazy.
156 films,
Wow.
and we would like you to be kind of involved in commentaries. Not all, obviously. I can't do all.
Mhm.
Some doing commentaries as well as shooting some interview with the talents in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And also help with a little bit of the branding. They because you remember when they did the Shaw stuff, they just said Shaw Brother Collection, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3.
Right, right, right.
I told them, oh, you don't want to do this. No, you cannot just do this on Cinema City title. Because Cinema City titles are not just martial arts and swordplay. They have all kinds of genre.
Of course,
You
yeah.
cannot just do them as volume 1, 2. And so I help them with the branding. I help them with
Okay.
telling them, okay, these titles, you should release them individually.
Okay.
These, like the trilogies, Chinese Ghost Story, Swordsman stuff, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can do them as a box set, which makes sense because like a Better Tomorrow, I guess like a Better Tomorrow you can do either as a trilogy box set or individually, right?
Right.
Unless you feel that, well, I don't think people are going to buy a Better Tomorrow 3 by itself, then it makes sense to do a box set. But that's what I'm kind of like a semi consultant, I guess.
Okay.
I'll just tell them, I will I will tell them which film they should release by itself, which they can do as a box set, or maybe do like a director series, that sort of thing, like for that sort of thing. So
Just as a quick tangent, because you mentioned Better Tomorrow. So back in like 2002 or three, somewhere like that, I bought my first multi-region DVD player because of Better Tomorrow. So in Hong Kong, they released this beautiful leather-bound, thick set of three Better Tomorrow films, and it has a metal clasp. I still have it, and the movie never got released here, right? So I just had this copy of this thing from Hong Kong that had English subtitles, and that
mm-hmm.
was the way that I saw these movies for years. But I had to buy a region-free player to watch it back then, and yeah, so that movie was actually my introduction to just buying all these international titles, anyways. And then Germany has always been so good at physical media ever since those days, and then Japan, and you could go crazy with all the markets there.
Oh yeah, no, you can go broke
Yeah,
buying those.
that's the problem.
I mean, look at the recent WCL one, like the ones those 4K. So it's like what, $100 each. Ugh,
Oh, beautiful.
beautiful, but $100.
Too much.
Yeah, I
No,
haven't bought them. Yeah.
I can't get started on World Cinema Library because I won't be able to stop. I'll want to go back and find the old ones, and like they're all works of art. They're beautiful, but I can't.
True. Yeah, and also me being a librarian, I have this collector mentality because
That's
'cause I
probably
grew
that's
up in a library. That's why I decided to get a library degree. Eventually, became a librarian, and yeah, it's because of the fact that I used to go to my local library in Hong Kong when I was a kid, and it's like like going to the candy store for me.
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
library was my candy store,
That's awesome.
and so that kind of really kind of built up my collector mentality that I need to have everything. Like if I want something, I have to have it. Like if I
Yeah.
like something, kind of have it. So.
Well, I'm just thinking. So we've gone into a little bit of background of how you become Frank Djeng. We've talked about some of the cultural context you bring in, and with some of the projects you're working on. What am I not asking you, Frank, that you like to talk about? Is there anything that you typically like to talk about if people are interviewing you?
You basically cover quite a lot of stuff. Um, I guess I can just say, well, I can like say some people. Okay, well, for one thing, I'm improve. So I'm always constantly trying to improve my commentary. Okay, so I'm a like uh there's a Japanese term for that. Like constant improvement, continuous
Yeah,
improvement.
yeah.
What's it called?
Kaizen?
Yeah, Kaizen. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm always trying to improve my comedy. I mean,
Okay.
I listen to criticism. People say I talk too fast sometimes, which I know. So I try to slow down my commentary, even though I
Okay.
kind of felt that I'm cheating people because when I slow down, I tend to give less information.
Okay.
So but I'll try to slow down the rhythm, the pace, so that people can actually understand what I'm saying. I do mumble sometimes. I realize that's a flaw, and also talk too fast sometimes, and yeah, so that's one thing that I'm trying to improve anytime I do comedy. And also I try to cut down on talking about the cast, like the filmography stuff. It's like for one thing, I'm just repeating myself. Like if I do one Chow Yun-fat movie, okay, I talk about Chow Yun-fat. Then I do my eighth Chow Yun-fat movie. I'm going to talk about the same filmography, and
Okay.
so I try to condense that now. I try to not talk too much about the actors or the crew's background or the filmography because, like, look, just Google them. If you're interested in the actor, Google his name, find out what films that he or she has done, and I also feel I'm cheating the labels. Like I'm just you paying me for me talking about the things I already talked about before. So it's almost like I feel I'm cheating on them. So I try to, even when I like, let's say, even if I've done a film, say with Chow Yun-fat before, like let's say Seven Curse, I talk about Chow Yun-fat and Seven Curse.
Mm-hmm.
Then now when I do Witch of Nepal, I try to talk about new stuff about Chow Yun-fat that's not in
Mm-hmm.
Seven Curse
Okay.
to kind of make it a little bit more, fresh and
I,
different. Make it different. And I'll never give the same commentary to a different label. People might think, oh, Frank is like this film, like say Vinegar Syndrome and AD are both releasing the same film,
uh-huh.
and I do commentary on both. It's never the same commentary. It's
Mm.
not like, oh, you releasing this, I'll give you my Vinegar
Mm.
Syndrome commentary for it. No, to me that's cheating. You can't. It's unethical. So I always re-record a new commentary for the same film for a different label.
I hope people are listening to this because I've studied for my personal career or professional career, I've studied a lot about like how to become a better leader because this is absolutely not part of my natural DNA. And a lot of what you're saying is applicable to a lot in life. If you have the mindset that you already know everything, and you become very rigid as a person, right? And so I really like what you're saying. You call it Kaizen, I think, but just this idea of really paying attention and trying to get better with each commentary. I think that's quite inspirational, actually. I hope people are listening to that.
Well, for one thing is I'm the most severe critic of myself.
Mm.
So it's like if I don't like that commentary, I know that people are not gonna like it. And also I don't want my commentary to be boring. That's the main thing. I don't want to give the impression that I'm reading something. I mean, I've heard really terrible commentary. I mean, no names, of course, but I heard terrible commentary where the commentator just, okay, let me read off this interview, so and so, or let
Yeah,
me read off this is from this magazine. It's like, no,
yeah,
I mean, and then they just read the whole thing verbatim. I mean, it's fine if you take excerpt from it. Okay, I was just say, Chow has mentioned in this interview that blah blah blah. That's fine, because you're referencing
sure.
something. But to just read the whole thing, word for word,
Uh-huh.
that's not your word. That's not your notes. That's not what you wrote. That's
Right,
not, to me, that's really not, I mean, like again, me being a federal employee is all about integrity.
right.
To me, integrity is very important. Like
Sure.
hell, we can't accept gift that's over $20. Right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Even the
yeah.
Christmas time, people give us these gifts. Is like, uh, we were like, if that gift is over $20, I have to share it with my coworkers. I
Yeah.
can't accept anything that's above $20. So to me, integrity is very important. And to me, that's part of integrity, just being able to write your own notes,
Mm.
say, it's like a composer. you really shouldn't be plagiarizing other people's themes or what have you unless you were paying homage to them. So
Right.
for me, that's very important. Original notes, original work is very important to me. And again, accuracy. I've heard tons of commentary where people were just saying, I think one of my favorite was on this commentary. Somebody said, "Oh, Hong Kong was handed over to China in 1997, and Macau was handed over too not long after that." Well, that's not true. you know, Macau was handed over in 1999. So, I mean, and it was implied that it was the same year. No. So again, accuracy very important again because of me being a librarian. I don't want when someone come to me in a library, ask me for help, I don't want to give them false information. So the same applies to commentaries.
I I think that's what I'm hearing you say, and I feel this as well when I hear you speak, is you are a part. If we're thinking about film like DVDs and Blu-rays and 4K as preserving these movies, then by doing a commentary on these, you are helping preserve the film in some capacity, and
Oh,
so
I agree.
therefore it's important to be correct because you want a
Yeah.
good historical record.
No, I completely agree. I'll tell you this. When I was in the UK, I go to
Mm,
UK every year because my relatives are there.
mm.
And also have to pay pay my visit to my UK label overlords. you know, just FaceTime is very important. With the labels. But I love. They're all great people. Eureka, 88 Film, all great people.
Mm,
I always amazed at 88 Films. And not to be really kind of kissing their asses, but 88 Films is a two-man operation, and the sheer volume of titles that they bring out
that's true.
every year. Not just Hong Kong movies, horror, Japanese
Yeah,
movies,
yeah,
Italian, I mean UK films. It's like
yeah.
I don't know how they did it, and this is their side job.
Right.
88 films is their side job. Their main occupation is auto car, body. They do body. They have a body shop
That's
for
wild.
for cars. So it's like I don't know how they did it. So anyway, but when I go to UK, sometimes I meet there's a lot of Hong Kongers living in UK now. If you
Sure.
know a bit about Hong Kong history, so recent years, like close to I would say at least 600,000 Hong Kongers have moved to the
Right.
UK.
Right. Right.
So I met a few of them last year, and they actually thanked me for the commentary because they felt that like you just mentioned that is like you're preserving history. Thank you for doing this because
Mm,
it felt like you're telling people the history of Hong Kong through these films.
mm.
And to me, that's very gratifying, and that's exactly what I kind of want to convey. That the commentary is not just let no. Of course, the main purpose is to let non-native speakers know more about the film, not
Sure.
just in like you say in a cultural context, historical context. But again, it's a historical document, it's an archive. We're archiving these things, and so to have fellow Hong Kongers telling me that what I'm doing is actually a good thing for their for historical preservation, for time capsule, whatever you. That's very gratifying.
There's I was thinking of you about a year ago. There's a mainland film director named Jia Zhangyi, and he made a film called Platform. I don't know if you've seen it, but when I was watching the film, I was like, oh man, I wish Frank Djeng would do the commentary on this because he makes movies that are somehow completely Chinese, but also universal at the same time. And so I understood the film and loved it from a universal standpoint, from understanding the themes and the humanity and those things that he brings in. But every single cultural thing was completely lost. All the little references. He goes through a lot of small towns in his movies, and the way that the people were on the radio talking, like all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I didn't, so I missed probably at least half the film. But some language is universal, and I love his movies. But I was like, I wish Frank would do commentary on these.
Yeah, I've done actually one mainland movie, uh, Zhang Yimou's
Okay.
The Road Home,
Okay.
but it was not released. I mean, my commentary didn't end up on a disc because um, Sony didn't have enough time.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was for the Australia release, The
Okay.
Road Home, and I recorded it, sent it them, and when they announced it, I realized that my commentary it wasn't on there. I asked them, and they said, "Oh, yeah, your commentary is fine, but Sony, didn't have enough time to include it on the master, so they."
No.
I know. Yeah.
Well, anyways. Frank, I think I wanted to document and create a historical document of your passion. And I think we accomplished that today. If anybody for some reason hasn't listened to you, we have a bunch of movies they can start with. Do you keep a journal anywhere of everything you've been on? Is there a record online anywhere of everything you've done?
Not really. No, I started keeping it, I think, about 3 years ago when I realized this is getting out of hand. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
I did I did 54 commentaries in 2023.
Oh my
I
God.
did 67 last year.
Oh my
Although
God.
this year technically I've only done 2 right now, which is amazing considering the fact that it's already February. But I've only done 2, both for 88 films too. So,
Well, I'm
but
sure that'll
it's
change.
coming up. There's more
Yeah,
coming up. There's
I'm
more.
sure that will change.
Yeah. And, with the
67
short
in a year.
scope, I know 57. Oh, no, 67 last year,
Wait,
54 the
that's
year
one
before.
every 6 days, right? Am I doing the math right?
Almost. Yeah.
Oh my
Crazy.
gosh. Frank, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
So I started keeping a list. I said, no, I got to keep a list.
Can you
Um,
publish that list somewhere?
it will take me some time to do, but I'm sure somebody online can do it. I can just put out. I'll
Yeah,
get a post on the day. Can someone compile a list of what the commentaries I've done? And boom, somebody will post it in like 5
true,
minutes.
true, true, true.
But one day I will have to do that, especially with the earlier ones. Yeah.
I think that'd be wonderful. Anyways, okay. I don't have any other questions for you other than I just want to hang out with you for a while. But Frank, I really appreciate you coming on, being so open and talking about the work you do. So I feel like without any reservations, like you really seem like a very open person. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this discussion. I guess there's no real necessarily common place to find you online. The best place to meet you is on the commentaries, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't do blogs. I don't do YouTube
Yeah,
videos. I'm on Instagram.
that's
So
where I reached out to you, I think, right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. To
I'm on
see
Instagram, but I don't post that often. I mean, when I get busy, when you see that I'm not posting often, that means I'm either not in Hong Kong or that I'm busy.
your recording or the
Yeah,
clips have gotten worse and
yeah,
your
and
time
and
is
I
not
think
for.
yeah, I think before I would used to announce, oh, this is my next project and stuff. But even now, it's like you just get to a point where you know what, it's just too busy. Like I'll just sometimes forget to announce it, or just
Yeah,
like people would know when they announce it, they'll know.
they do
So,
find
which
out.
from the Power was a good, pleasant surprise actually, because that actually is a funny surprise because when 88 Films announced Which from Nepal, I didn't know I was going to do a commentary. When they announced it, they said, we will commentary from Frank. I said, oh, really? I didn't know that.
That's how you found out about
That's
it.
how I found out about it. Oh, that was great. I like surprises like that, actually. So
Yeah,
that's
that's a
fun. And I,
positive.
and I loved it. I mean, I thought I did a great commentary for that. So, yeah.
Great, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Frank, and look forward to another 60 commentaries from you later in the year.
Oh, yeah. I wish. I hope. I'll probably die from sleep deprivation if I do the 60. But no, I promise you, there'll be some great titles coming this year. Not just because of the Golden Princess. Obviously, the short scope volume 4,
Hmm.
which I'm also involved in. Although I might just be doing 1 or 2 commentary this time.
Okay.
But I'll be helping with some of the interviews. Uh, there will be more Jackie Chan. Actually, quite a bit of Jackie Chan coming this year, to be
Okay.
honest. Yeah. And yeah, there's some Johnny Toe coming. So yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, very exciting to hear about Johnny Toe. I think the stuff that he's done is mm, he should be spoken of as one of the best filmmakers, I think, from the last 30 years or
Oh yeah,
40
definitely.
years.
That's why
And
I'm so happy to hear that he's going to shoot his next film in Japan. I mean, that's great.
it's awesome.
Hokkaido, man, of all places.
That's
I mean,
great.
it's going to be great. I mean,
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Frank.
take care, man.
Forward to hearing more from you. Thanks. See you.
And Chris.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.